Hi, I'm Nayeli and welcome to my channel. Today you will learn how to make a satin lined bonnet to protect your hair. So make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. Let's get started. To get started, make sure you have your soft measuring tape, your shears or your fabric scissors, your pins because you need to pin your pieces together. Elastic, I'm using a 1/2 inch wide elastic for this one. Your matching thread, your pattern. I'm using satin fabric for my liner piece for the inside, and also a beautiful fabric. Take a soft measuring tape and measure around where the elastic piece would go for the bonnet. So I'm going to take mine and bring it around. See, bring it all the way around. And let's see, right here. I am at 22 inches. So I will cut my elastic at 22 inches, and that way it's gonna fit a little tight because when I sew it together, it'll be like 21.5. So it'll give me that 1/2 inch where it sticks to my head. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take my pattern and I'm gonna cut that on my satin piece. So on the satin, you have to make sure it's folded a certain way. So let me open it up so you can see. So on here I have these two sides together, and what I typically do is I go down. I know I'm going to use my 23 inch, so really it's like 11.5. So I kind of pinch right, probably just a little bit over, and then I fold it. That way I don't waste that fabric. So I'm folding that right here. Because I need to fold it twice. So I'm going to fold it one way. So after there, you got to fold this back. But before I even do that, let me go ahead and take a pen so it doesn't move. I'm going to take a pen on this side too. All right, so now I need to fold it this way. And it is super wrinkled, so it is going to need to be ironed as soon as possible. All right, so here we go. And this looks like it might be enough, but let's check it. So you're going to take this corner. This corner is going to go in the corner where the folds are. And that is just right. As a matter of fact, I can come back just a little bit more. Right here. And what I'm going to do is just pin it, because satin likes to move. So I'm just going to need to pin a little bit more. So I can keep it in place so it doesn't move when I go to cut it. Then I have a weight in my sewing table. It's like to hold the fabric down without having to do too much pinning right now. So at least here, and then I know I'm not going to cut this area. I'm pushing it all the way through. So it's going to be four, it should be 4 layers. 1, 2, and then that's 3, 4. So you're going to put this in the corner and line it up right there and there. Make sure you can see. And I'm going to take my marking pencil after I know that everything is lined up and you can feel it. And I'm going to draw, because this is where I'm going to cut. And once you have that drawn on there, like I said, I'm just going to pin it so it doesn't move. Now I can take my fabric scissors and cut. Now I can take the pins out because it did not move. And look, you have your nice, beautiful circle. So that's the satin piece. We're going to put that to the side, and now we're going to cut the fabric. So for this next part, we're going to use the fabric, this really beautiful fabric. Now I want to take this sticky part off. So now I need to make sure I'm folding this correctly. I need to find where the end is. And once I find the end, I can fold it. Okay, so I'm going to fold. This is the wrong side, and that's the right side. And the reason why I know that is because the words read in the selvage area a different way. So here we go. So what I need to do is fold. I like to fold the pretty sides together. So I'm going to take this and fold it. I know I'm going to need at least 12 inches for the pattern that I have. So I'm going to fold it this way first. And let's see, where is this at? I think I need to do it a little bit, one more, just to be on the safe side. Shake it out some. And here we go. And then I'm going to pin because I don't want it to move. I'm just going to pin along the selvage area. And pin. Now I need to take this, go back like about, I'm going to take my pattern just for example. I want it just underneath the selvage area. I'm going to cut. So right here, so I'm going to start right there, and I'm going to pinch it. I'm going to pinch this and sandwich it together. Right here. And there we go. I'm just going to move it around because it's on a big piece. It's like 6 yards. And I didn't cut it down, so I'm cutting it right from there. Once I have that, I'm going to take my weight and just lay it right there. And now I'm just going to pin all 4 fabric pieces together. Just at least right here. To make sure this is lined up. And that's not moving. All right, so what I want to do is show how, let's say we don't have this pattern. Let me show you how you can actually make a pattern. You take, or you can draw it right on here on your fabric. So I'm on the wrong side of the fabric, so I'm going to draw on it. You're going to take your measuring tape. You're going to measure over, let's say we're going to do, I said it's 23 inches, so it's 11 and a half. I'm going, because it needs to match whatever your liner piece is. So I take this, then you mark 11 and a half. You go right where the point is. Then you go over, and it's right here. And then you go up 11 and a half. And then you're going to use this as your pivot point. Then you're going to mark where 11 and a half is. You're going to do that all the way to make this curve. 11 and a half. And 11 and a half, and then you basically are going to connect those. And then you go over here and do 11 and a half. So that's how you can draw it. And so you can freehand it or use any of the tools, but I'm just connecting the dots right now. Right here, connecting the dots. Connecting the dots until it's finished. And where I marked should line up exactly where my pattern is, and it does. So that's how you can do it if you don't have a pattern. Now it's time for me to, well, before I even cut it, let me add pins, so it does, so the 4 pieces of fabric do not move, because remember I got 4 fabric in here. And so I just cut it. And once it's done, you can take your pins out. And now you have this beautiful, well, before I do that, let me put a W, because they look so identical. It's like just a little bit faded. And there I go. Now I'm ready to iron. After you have finished ironing, it's time to put the right sides together. So let's go ahead and do that. So I am going to just use my lint brush and get rid of some of the extra little strings I have. Take some of that out. I'm putting the pretty sides together. See, shiny side with pretty side. And Everything should line up nicely. And there we go. So I'm probably going to sew. Let's see, do I want to sew with this side is a little bit larger. So I'm going to, and the only reason why is because it was super wrinkled. If I ironed it before I cut it, it would fit perfectly. But there's a little bit over, and that's because it should be like almost a perfect circle. But if it's not, that's typically the reason why it's not. And that's fine, because all I'm going to do is I'll cut that before I even, but I'm going to start pinning. So I'm going to do a double pin where I'm going to start, and then pin all the way around, and then a double pin when I finish. And I'm going to leave at least like a, let's see, let me pin it this way. At least let's do a 2-inch opening so that you can pull it through. So I'll leave a 2-inch opening. And now I'll just pin all the way around, and it's like maybe because satin likes to move. So pin as many as you need to make sure that it doesn't move when you're sewing. And I'll finish that up and then get it over to the sewing machine. So now I have the bonnet underneath the needle, and I have the right sides, which are the pretty sides, together, and everything is pinned all around. I'm going to start with the double, and I'm going to sew all the way around. And I'm going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance on this. So I'm going to take off these pins, and I'm going to sew. I'm going to back stitch first. So now this is finished. It's sewed all together, and we're going to need to cut anything extra and then flip it around and sew the seams. I'm going to turn the iron on, and I'm just going to cut any of the extra so it's not super bulky. We don't want it bulky. Now it's time to find that opening. I pinch, then I normally go on the satin side because it's not as dense. And then I do a pinch, and then I just pull it on through. See how easy it's to turn when you're focusing on that satin side. Because my fabric is stiffer, which is fine. Then all you're going to do now is you want to push that seam out, and we're going to iron that. I said my head was 22 inches. So let's go ahead and measure out 22 inches. I'm going to take my measuring tape. Take this. And then go out 22, which is right here. So that is ready. And I can put that. Okay, so now it's time to sew in that circle around here. I just want to make sure I keep my opening. Very visible. So all I'm going to do is a 1/2 inch offset from the edge. So I'm going to look at my sewing and line that up. I'm going to take that bad boy all the way around in a circle. I'm going to do the whole entire circle. Start with a back stitch, and then I'm going to start and finish at the same spot. But back stitch first. And make sure it's a 1/2 inch if that's the elastic that you'll be using. And let's go. For this next part, you have your elastic cut. What I like to do is, let me see, my opening is right down here. Let me cut off, I can cut off some of the extra strings. So I can take that out now. And one side I'm going to actually use a pen. I'm gonna pin it to like right over here because I don't want to lose it. And then this side, I'm going to, the way that I do it, I'm gonna use my turning tool. You can use a safety pin and just safety pin it all the way through, but that takes a long time for me. So what I do is I actually take the safety pin. Let me see. And I'll put it through the elastic. Close it up. That way it holds on nicely. Then I take it in here. In the turning tool. So, and then I'll just feed it through. Then it'll go all the way through. Let me make sure it gets thin. There we go. And it works with this 1/2 inch. See how it pulls through so easy. Then I'll do this all the way through. I'll go like here and then pull the elastic through, make sure it all comes through. And I'll show you when it's done. Here, so you crisscross it like a 1/2 inch. Take your safety pin or your pin and pin it. Don't move, because now I need to sew this up. I'm gonna sew it. I'm just gonna use the same fabric, and then after I sew that, I'm gonna sew it together, and then we're done. Okay, so now I want to sew my elastic together. So let me take this off, the pin out. And there's a few different ways that you can sew it. You can do the zigzag sew. I don't really want to do that with this one. I kind of want to just do like a straight stitch and X, and then because I don't want it to move at all. and the flexibility isn't super necessary for me on this one. I'm just going to do a straight stitch first. Then I'll pivot and turn it and do like an X and go to the corner. So now I'm going to go to the corner because I don't want it to move. Pivot, and then straight line, and a pivot, and do a pivot, and let's do this X, or not X, the X is done, and pivot. And I can do one more. I'll just do one more straight line. And then I'll show you what the design looks like. But when I pivot, all I do is raise the presser foot up, and then I turn it with the needle in. So let me show you. This is really what it looks like. Maybe overkill a little, but it's not going anywhere. I could take off the extra thread, because really the point is I don't want it to move. So this is good. And so now I could put it back inside and do the last part. Okay, so once you have that elastic in place, you don't want to sew the elastic, so I kind of tuck it under. Make sure it's not gonna pop out. And then fold it. Put it under your machine. And do a straight stitch as close as possible to the edge, and making sure that it closes up too. In your back stitch. And there it goes, just right. And it is closed up, and now time to cut off all of these extra threads. And look here, it is nicely sewed. Thank you so much for watching.